Okay, so today we are going to talk about Docker files. So the scenario is, now we have got this application, okay, about which we had discussed yesterday, and yesterday we simply, what we did is like we simply deployed this particular application in the containers using the Docker Compose file. But the point is, this particular application needs to be, basically we need to execute it inside the container. That is our requirement 1. Okay, so application needs to be executed inside Docker container. That is requirement. But the first step towards this requirement is, so the first step is we need to basically create a Docker image. Okay, so the first step is create a Docker image which will have all the files of an application. Okay, so our application's files should be part of Docker image. That is step 1. And step 2 is use this Docker image to create and run the container. Right? These are the 2 steps which we need to do in order to take our application inside the container. Now the first step can be accomplished with the help of DockerFile. Now why do we need a DockerFile? That is the first question. Okay, so if we want our application files to be present inside the Docker image, we need to execute few commands for it, right? For example, here, now these are my application files. If we talk about this backend application, no, so this is a Node.js application first of all. So what we need is, we need to get this app.js, which is actually my application source code. I need to copy it from here inside the Docker image. Okay, that is point number 1. So we need an instruction for it to take this particular file into the Docker image. Another point, as this is the Node.js application, so this application source code is implemented using few Node.js libraries. The way in Java we implement the application using Java libraries, right? Java jar files. Let's say Apache POI. So if you are doing something in your Java code in Excel files, like you are reading Excel file, you are writing into Excel file, so you use Apache POI library. So before you go ahead with the execution of your, or even development of your application, or even the execution of your application, you need to get those libraries downloaded using Maven. You need to set them up in the class path of your application, and then only you would be able to execute your application, or in fact you can develop the application, right? So same goes with this Node.js application. So Node.js application also has few libraries, or any Node.js application may depend upon few libraries. Now we have already discussed about Maven basically in our Java sessions. So here in Node.js, what is need to be understood is the way we have MVN repository for Java, right? This is the repository wherein the Java libraries, we get the Java libraries available, and then we download them and then we use them, right, for different purposes. Similarly for Node.js, there is a package repository called npm.js, right? So this is the package repository, this one, where we have MVN, here we have the npm package repository. Now this repository has got different Node.js reusable packages, library packages. Now as a part of your applications build process, like even Java application has got its build process, right, wherein it downloads the jars, it keeps it into the M2 directory of our Maven local repository, and then from there it adds it to the class path and it then builds it. Similarly, any node application also has got the build process. So that build process includes downloading the packages from this location and then using it further, right? So let's understand few other components of this application. We had discussed about, like, this is the source code and what it does and all, but today we are going to discuss few more important points about this. Very important point is this package JSON. It's like pom.xml of our Java application. Java application has a pom.xml. So Node.js application has got a package.json. So what does this package.json includes? Let's understand, because this is very important before we go ahead with the Dockerfile creation, because we ultimately should know like what exactly we need to do in order to build the Node.js application to make it execution ready, and those instructions ultimately we are going to include in our Dockerfile. Okay, so the first and foremost thing is we need to understand the Node.js applications build process. Okay, so Node.js application build process. That is the first thing we need to understand. So the first thing is download third-party Node.js packages from npm.js, and npm.js is package repository, right? Right, this is npm.js is for JavaScript, what Maven is for Java, right? So a repository. So as a part of the build process, we have to first download those package managers, packages from the package manager repository. That is first step. So this package.json basically defines all the details about the particular application. This is equivalent to our pom.xml. So this particular file has got name. So this is the application's name. So in our pom.xml we have artifact ID, group ID, version, those parameters. Here also we have got the version parameter, right? Then a description. It could be a this could be like what this application is for, what it does. So just the description about what application does and all. Then this main is the starting point of our application, like from where the application execution starts. We will talk about these scripts little later, but author, it's like a group ID in our pom.xml. Dependencies, this is similar to dependencies in our pom.xml. So in pom.xml also we define the dependencies. In pom.xml also we can define dev only dependency, prod dependency, test dependency. If you guys remember about the scope parameter in our pom.xml, while defining a testng dependency, we had mentioned one parameter called scope. So that made the testng jars as our test level dependency. So whenever we would be executing a test goal, okay, then only that dependency would be downloaded and would be connected to our project. For other goals it will not be, right? So similarly here we have different types of dependencies: dev dependencies, test dependencies, prod dependencies, and all that, right? So this is the package JSON. Now we need to understand what are the commands which are involved into this entire build process. Like for example, to achieve this, downloading the dependencies, the packages, right, we need to use a command called npm install. So what does this npm install do? This npm install command reads the dependencies section from your application's package JSON, and it downloads the packages from your package repository, npm package repository, and put those packages in a folder called node modules. So you see this node modules. So this node modules is the location where all the packages gets downloaded. In case of Maven, we call it as a local repository, and that local repository is this location. I'm just taking you to that just to revise it a bit. So see, users, your logged in user .m2, and this is the location where the Java jar files Maven tool downloads. So similarly here the packages, node packages gets downloaded in this node modules actually. Okay, so npm install is the first thing which you would be doing, and then to start the application you have to run npm app.js. That's it. So this will start your application, this will build your application. Build means it will basically download the application, download the dependencies, and this will start the application. So these two commands are important for getting this application set for the execution. Now why I am telling you this? Because this is important for our DockerFile, because ultimately our DockerFile is going to do what? It is basically going to copy these application files inside the image, and then in that image it is going to run this npm install so that all the packages would be downloaded, and then to start the application it is going to run this command, right? So let's go ahead with the DockerFile now. So this is the DockerFile. Okay, let's understand the elements of this DockerFile now. Now, what does this from is? So basically this from is, so in order to run a Node.js application, we need the Node.js framework or Node.js environment. Like yesterday Sampada asked me about running Python script. So what does she need in order to run the Python script inside the container? She needs obviously Python, right? So similarly, to run this node application, what do we need? We need node, right? Now basically this image, what the Docker image is basically is, it consists of different files, directory structures, file structures. This is what the ultimately Docker image is. Okay, I'll try to explain the Docker image with the help of a diagram. Let's understand, because this is very, very important. So this is the Docker image. So what does it basically? What is Docker image actually? So basically this Docker image contains different files, directories, right, related to operating system, then certain you know, runtime frameworks, right? Certain runtime frameworks, and then we have the application code files. So basically Docker image is made up of these things. So to run a container, what do we need? Obviously we need the operating system, right? If we are now talking about the Node.js application, so we need a Node.js. If we talk about Python, we need a Python environment. If we talk about running Java application inside the container, we need Java runtime environment, right? So we need operating system, we need runtime environments, required ones, and also our applications code, right, which is going to be executed inside. Now the thing is that if I want to create a Docker image which will have everything, right? So what I need to do is I need to define everything in my image. Like I need to get all the OS related files and put it in my image. I need to get all the environment related files and I need to put them into the image. So they would be part of my image actually. Image meaning file system and directories and everything what I need, that is called image. So instead of putting everything, right, what we can do is we can use the already defined images. So someone has created the image with the name node, and this particular image has got everything what is needed to run any Node.js application. Okay, so instead of us taking the responsibility of putting everything whatever we need, like OS related things, Node.js related things, everything, instead of we taking that responsibility to putting everything into the image, what we can do is we can use the existing ones, and that is what we usually do in object oriented languages. So when you define a class, so you inherit that class from some other, so that you will get all the things whatever you need, but you don't need to define them again. You don't redefine the things whatever have been already defined. You tend to use them as is. You tend to inherit those things in your class, and then you concentrate only on defining what you need to be implemented in that class. Whatever it needs but have already been defined, you don't waste your time and energy in doing that again in your class. You don't define the class from scratch if you already have some other class defining most of the things what you need. Same goes with the philosophy of Docker image creation. So in order to create a Docker image, you need these things: operating system and runtime frameworks. So this you don't need to download and set up everything right from scratch, right? We have got the images already created, which has got all these things. We simply need to reference them or inherit your Docker image from that parent image. So this is called parent image, right? So we are putting this parent image in this from block. So what it means is that your Docker image is inherited from this parent image node, and this image, a node image, has got everything. It has been downloaded. See, if you don't use parent image, then what you will have to do is you have to code downloading, let's say, Node.js from the internet, setting it up with the help of some kind of a command or something. So all those things you need to implement here in your Docker file, which is not obviously needed because we already have got the image having all that stuff. Okay, so we will simply inherit our image from this parent image. So from node, So node is one of the Docker image. I'll show you that. Node Docker Hub. Let's go to the node Docker image. See. So similarly you will get the Docker parent image for Python also. If you want the Python environment and you don't want to download the Python, the way basically if you are doing the setup of Python on any bare metal system, so what do? You download the Python, you install it. Let's say for Node.js also, you download the Node.js, you install it. If it has got any prerequisites, then you have to take the responsibility of installing all those prerequisites and all, right? So that kind of a effort we don't need, because already those Docker images have been created and have been made available on the Docker Hub. So this node image, even the Python image, I'll show you the Python Docker image. See, this is the Python official image. So it has got everything, whatever you need to run the Python program, I mean. So this particular image has got all the operating system related files, all the Python related prerequisites, pip and Python environment itself. Everything is part of this image. So you don't need to take the responsibility of installing everything the way you do it when you use any bare metal system. That is very important advantage of using Docker. Please understand. If I ask you to set this machine, set this application on any bare metal system, then you have to take a responsibility of installing node. Then if that node has any prerequisite, then that prerequisites you need to download, install. The node also you need to download, install. Then you need to take this application source code and then proceed with these steps, npm install and all that stuff. But setting up the environment is a big task, isn't it? When we do it on a bare metal system. But that is the main advantage of using Docker. Docker has got the images created, and those images have got all the prerequisites already available, which are required to run a particular kind of an application. Python application, Java application, Node.js application. So you can use these images, right, in your Docker image. You don't need to do anything from scratch. You just need to concentrate on how to set up your application. What you need to do, you need to copy the files, okay. You need to get the packages downloaded, npm install, fine, and then start the application. That's it. You don't need to worry about how to get the Node.js installed, how to get the other prerequisites installed and all that stuff. So this is the huge I would say the advantage of using Docker images over setting up the applications on any bare metal system, because setting up takes a lot of time, removing also takes a lot of time. Also dependency, like if you install try to set up this particular Node.js application on any bare metal system, so you will install the particular version of your Node.js, you will install different utilities like npm and all, which might create the issues with any other application you are using on your system, right? So please understand, this is a huge problem when it comes to setting up the application on a bare metal system, whereas in case of Dockers it is very easy to create, it is easy to dissolve also, right? So here, having said this, so we have got the from clause here. So this will take all the things, whatever your application needs as far as node application setup is concerned, right? Now next point, work dir. So what is this work dir? So this basically, now a Docker image, as I told you, it's a different set of it's basically a file system which has got all the files and directories. Like here in this case, coming from this image. So this image has got all the things related to node, all the files and everything, directories, all the operating system related files would be part of your application. I mean, it would be part of your Docker image, right? And on top of it, you would be then copying your applications files the way we do it on the bare metal system also. On a bare metal system, we have got everything what we need to run the operating system. After that, on top of it, we put the installations, Node.js installation, Java installation, Python installation, and whatever installation we need, right? On top of it, then we put our applications files. We perform the different setup things for our application, like compilation and then creation of the jar file and all that stuff, right? So on top of it, it's a layer. So this is the first layer, which contains the operating system related files and the Node.js related file. This is first layer. Then you add a new layer into it. So this work dir/app. So what this is? So basically it creates one directory in this. So let's understand this as a different set of layers. This was just an example of what Docker image is. So if we talk about our Docker image, so the first layer would be, this is layer 1. So it will have OS related files and Node.js. This is layer 1. Okay. On top of it, we are going to add now few of our directories and our application related source code and all. So this is layer 1. I'm just making it a little clear here by defining this as a layer 1. So this is our layer 1. Okay. Now on top of it, we will be adding other layers. Now next point is, we want to create one directory called app, and that we want to make as a working directory. Okay, so that would be a layer, one layer above the layer 1, right? So here another layer would be app directory /app directory, and this I want to make a current directory, a current working directory, right? So this is this instruction. Then what? Then I want to copy, please understand, I want to copy this package JSON, this, from here inside my Docker image. Now our Docker image is this. So now I have in my Docker image all the files related to OS, Node.js coming from the parent image as layer 1. On top of it, I have created one more directory called app, and I have made it a current directory, right? So now when I will run this command, copy package JSON dot. Now what does this dot mean? Dot means what? Let's understand. This copy instruction needs two arguments. Obviously, one is source, second is destination. What you want to copy and where you want to copy. So what we want to copy, the source is package JSON. This is the package JSON. And where you want to copy, inside the Docker image you have got different files and directories, right? So files and directories coming from this parent image, there are files and directories there. So which directory you want to copy this package JSON in? Dot is what? Current directory. But what is your current directory? We have already set it in our previous instruction that we want to create one directory /app, and that should be our current directory. So this particular instruction, when it will refer dot, so this dot means this directory, because this is what we have set as a current working directory. So this work directory basically defines a particular directory from inside your Docker image as your current directory. So this particular package JSON would be copied to this /app. So it would be a third layer. So this is second layer. Okay. So this is layer 2. So layer 2 has OS related files, Node.js related files plus one directory /app. Now the instruction copy, this instruction, the package JSON copy instruction, that will create a third layer. Okay, so let's write it here. So this layer 3, what way it will have? It will have these things plus a package JSON copied inside the /app. You will have a package.json copied. So this is the layer 3. So layer by layer, our Docker image gets created. So this is layer 3, right? Now next, what we want next? We want to do npm install. That's what I have defined here, right? You have to, in order to set up your Node.js application for the execution, you have to download all the required packages, and for that you need to run this npm install. So the instruction to run any command is run. Run is an instruction, a Docker instruction, and then you can define what command you want to run. So we want to run npm install. Now what it will do? It will read this package JSON dependencies and it will create a folder called node modules inside. Now that would be layer 4. So what would be our layer 4? On top of layer 3. So please understand this, layer 2 is on top of layer 1. So all the contents of layer 1 plus layer 2 content. Layer 3 meaning all the contents of 1, 2 and in addition to that layer 3 content. Right? That is how it is. And here the contents would be, after running npm install, it will create a node underscore modules directory, and inside this directory we will have all the packages. Okay, so the layer 4 would be inside this all packages would be downloaded. So this is layer 4. So layer by layer, our image or our file system is getting created. So this is layer 4. Right? And once we have this, let's go to our DockerFile. Correct. And then what we are doing, we are copying other things from like this app.js. Mainly we need this app.js now inside the container. I mean inside the Docker image. So this would be our layer, next layer, that is layer 5. So this layer 5 would be on top of this. It will copy our other contents related to our application. All files related to app would be on top of this. So this is layer 5. Sorry. Just a minute. Layer. So here I say as an example app.js. So app.js would be now part of for example app.js. So it would be copied. Now this expose is, we want to basically publish this port 80. Okay, that is what we are talking about. Then we want to set some environment variables. We already are aware of environment variables. So this is the instruction which will set these environment variables inside the image. So once your container would be up now, it will have these environment variables already set. Okay, so this env instruction is for setting the environment variables. And then the last point in our image is this. Now this is an interesting point. Now what is this? This is when you will start the container, what would be the command which would be executed. So basically when you start any application, say notepad, so you run notepad exe, right? If you start a Java application, you run something like java space -jar, then the path of the jar. That is how you start the application. So how do we start the Node.js application? So what we want to do actually, when we will start the container which would be created from this image, what we want is, we want to start the application. So all the application related files are already part of my Docker image now. Layer by layer, everything it has got, whatever it needs. So layer 5, this layer 5 has got everything. OS related files, Node.js related files, it has got the package.json, then it has got all the packages downloaded into the node modules folder. Then this app.js and other application related files are also there in that image now. Now we are done. We are done with the creation of the Docker image now. We don't need to put anything other than this. So we have to just define the command which would be executed once the container will start. So we need to mention, right, whatever the container would be created out of this image, what it should do. So it should basically run this command. Now what this npm start is, so if you go to package.json, there is a command called start defined in the package.json, and this start define this command which actually starts your application. This nodemon app.js is the command which starts running this app.js actually. This starts the application. So this start npm start basically runs the script defined in the package.json named start, and what does this do? It starts the app.js. App.js is the file which has all the code related to that application. So in your Docker file, this cmd, so cmd is the starting point of your container, or the entry point is also it is called as, or the command of your container. So once you create the container from this, it will call npm start. This ultimately will call the start command from your package.json. This ultimately will run this command and your application will be running, right? This is the understanding of this entire Docker file. Now let's understand how to build an image. So we have defined the Docker file, right? Now the next point is building the image after running this. Like once we will start building the image, it will run all this stuff, whatever we have defined here in the Docker file, and then it will create the image. Okay, so how to do that is the another point. So let's go to C Docker contains, and this is the directory, right? And here I need to start a cmd. I have got the Docker build command. Let me see if I have it here. If I don't have it, no problem. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so our command is for running docker build. Let me start a Docker desktop. I think it is not started yet. Okay, let it start. So I'll say docker build. So what is this command? This is the command which we have not yet discussed, but it is there in our document. But we haven't yet discussed because we have not yet started talking about Docker files and all that stuff. So far we have been using the existing Docker images and simply running the containers. Now this is the first time we are building our own image. So docker build, and then you have to provide, if you want to provide a name to your image. If you don't provide, then some random name would be taken. But if you want, you can provide the name using -t, and then you can provide a name, let's say something like goals or something. I will say goals app. And dot. Now what is this dot? Let's understand what is this dot is about. This is called Docker context. What is the meaning of this? Let's understand. Let's go to the Docker file. And do you see this instruction mainly, or rather any, for example, this copy instruction. Copy package JSON. So how the Docker will know where is this package JSON, the source one? Destination we have already talked about. In the layer, where should it copy it to? But where it should pick it from our system. So on our system, if you check, this is the location. Our package JSON is basically, if I go inside in the backend, inside the backend, I have got my package JSON, right? I have got my Docker file. So the point is, we are currently executing our Docker build command from one directory behind. So we are running the command from here, isn't it? This directory we are running the Docker build command from. Now we need to mention the Docker file which it should take to build the image. That let's define first, and then we will define the Docker context. So Docker build, then you have to provide -f, that is file. So where is our file located? Docker file. It's located inside this directory backend and Docker file. So this is our file, Docker file. Okay, now this -t is the name we want to give to our image. And let's talk about now Docker context. Now what does Docker context means? That whenever this Docker file will execute, okay, now once the Docker file will start its execution, and then when it will encounter this copy command, okay, so where it should take this package JSON from, where it should take this current directory again to put all the rest of the contents into the image, right? So these locations are nothing but the Docker context. So what is our Docker context? Where all these files are present? So these files are present in this directory, right? So backend directory. So I would say my Docker context is backend, this directory. So inside this, let's understand. Inside this directory, from here I am running my Docker build command. So I am saying build the Docker image. Where is the Docker file? It's located in this in this directory, the working directory, I have a folder called backend. So inside that backend I have a Docker file. So use that and start building the image. Now whenever in the Docker file it will encounter some relative file references like package.json and all, where it will find it those files again inside the backend directory, and that is what my Docker context is. So let's hit enter. See, it has started building the image. So it has built the image. You can check here what it has done so far. So it has first downloaded the node Docker image, right? So that is what it has downloaded. That is layer 1. So let's check this image again. So layer 1 is that here, layer 1. OS related files and Node.js related files, layer 1. So this is what that layer 1 is. It has downloaded the Node.js image. On top of it, see, it has set the work dir /app. Then it has copied the package.json inside. So this is what this instruction is, this one. And where it has got this package.json to copy it from our Docker context. So from here it went inside the backend, and that is what we have set as a Docker context. Then it has executed run npm install. Then it has executed. So this run npm install is yet another command in our Docker image, this one. Then the next command is copy current directory contents into the working directory inside the Docker image. That is what this command is. And once we are done with that, it stores the location, stores this image with this name. Do you see this name? That is what we have provided here. Now if you check Docker image ls, so we have got this goals app image. I will do one more thing. Let me Docker container prune. If I have any containers, let me delete them. Docker image prune. I will delete all the. Let's build the image. Docker image ls. I will delete this image also, which I have just defined. Image rm Docker image prune, right? And let's build the Docker image again. So it is building the Docker image again. Now see, it is taking a bit of time because previously I was having all those layers already. I had executed this in the last session, so I was having those layers. So that's why it was a bit of quick previously. But now it has built the image, and now if you run the container now, I'll show you like all those files of our application now are part of the container. Let me show you that. IT, and then our goals app. Just a minute. Docker run. Docker run -it sh. Now I am inside the container. If you check, we have got So this is our /app is our directory, right? This is what we have defined here, work directory /app. So we have copied all our things inside this. So you can see the package JSON. I am in the running container which has been created with the help of the image which we just built, and this has got everything which we had done as a part of image building. So this copy, then npm run install. After npm run install, we have got this node modules. Inside this node modules, all the packages are there, right? And rest of the contents are also there, like app.js, right? So this is what happens when you create a Docker image. So first you use some parent image. Instead of you doing everything from scratch, you use some parent image which has got all the prerequisites, and you only take care of putting your application related files into the image layer and running the commands to get that application set up, and at the end you just define a command which will start your application. That is the only responsibility you need to take care of. The prerequisite thing has been taken care of by this from parent image, and this is your own image which has got all the application related stuff inside it.